Today you join me on a very rainy Thursday, and unfortunately this kind of means that the flashing tape can't really be installed because, well, I could do it if I kind of created a canopy in which I could work underneath, and therefore I could actually stick the flashing tape on the surround. Oh god, what's that? Oh, I've forgotten to do that already this morning. I literally don't remember anything, but I did remember this morning to go to Screwfix, and a little bit of a situation arose because the guy didn't want to sell me any razor blades because I apparently didn't look 25, which I do kind of understand because, you know, Shankville and all that. But at the same time, if you can drive at 17, surely you should be able to buy a razor blade. And I always forget to carry my wallet with me, so I did not have my ID, but I kept telling them my age and none of them were believing me. But then I remembered you can open photo on your phone and search for a keyword, and I had a photo of my passport which had my date of birth, and they all were in disbelief because I don't know what's wrong with my face, but I either look 30 or I look 16, and I get ID'd for Red Bull, which you have to be 16. It's also my birthday in a few days, so that means I'm going to be another year older, but then my face just doesn't ever change. So I reckon when I get to around 35, I should probably start aging at that point, surely, because if I'm 35 and I still look like this, that is not even going to be funny, because I literally have to remember to bring my ID everywhere because nobody believes my age when I tell them. The plan for today is to do a little bit of the plywood flooring, fix a couple of the boards down, and I'm thinking of actually countersinking the screws, which I've never done before. But because I am going to be using this plywood subfloor as an actual floor for quite a long period of time, and I'm moving around materials, I will eventually catch on the top piece of a screw. And I've done that before and it gets quite annoying, so I'm just going to spend a bit more time countersinking. You do not need to do this really if it was a normal subfloor, and in actual fact, knowing me, I probably will do it for about 20% of them, and then I'll just put the screws in normally. And if you're thinking, Chris, get over it, go work in the rain, I normally would, except for to be able to film everything, the camera has to be in the rain, and my camera is not waterproof. And I really don't want to break that camera, so we're going to get on with some inside work today and start on that bath idea. So the sort of process for this bath is I'm going to lower part of the ground, add some hardcore, but I actually think I probably will just use concrete. In fact, I can't even be bothered to do that. I might just get some Postcrete. And if you don't know what Postcrete is, if you want to create a fence post, you obviously dig the hole, put the post in it, make sure it's all plumb, which means that it's perfectly vertical. And then you just pour Postcrete into it, which is like a powdery, cementy substance mixed with some gritty gravel. You just add water and then it sets super quickly, and therefore it is called Postcrete because it's concrete for putting a post in for a fence. Now, you're probably not meant to do what I sometimes do, but it is very easy to just use Postcrete for other areas because it's quick setting and there's no mess and you don't have to move around a cement mixer. So I might actually drive and go get some Postcrete, and if I've got enough time, sort all of that stuff today. Now, the great thing is this bath I am going to be creating from scratch. It's all going to be custom, and therefore I can make it exactly the size that I want, which is going to allow me to just send it a little bit more with my measurements. And always remember, if you are like me, who sometimes is a little bit inaccurate, remember you can always cut off more, you can't add it back on. Well, you can, but it's easier to cut off more. And when it comes to this bath idea, I can always reduce the size of the bath, but after all of the framework is done, it will be very difficult to then increase the bath size because the framing that I'm going to be doing kind of determines the size of the bath. So everything that you're seeing right now, that is all going to be slightly larger than the actual final bath size, because obviously you've got all of the timber work. And again, massive thank you to the person who commented saying, Chris, remember the movement difference. The house is going to move and the ground won't, so therefore that will cause cracking if the bath is directly connected to the ground. So an idea to counter this could be that I kind of make the frame all suspended from the floor, but at the same time in contact with the floor. So what I mean by that is the timber is resting on the concrete, but it is never actually connected, so therefore any movement in the tiny house does not meet a resistance in the ground, and therefore it should prevent any cracking. Now, the issue with that is the concrete pad is going to be a little bit below the ground, and if somehow water got into that, then it would sit in the timber. And this is basically becoming a bit of a nightmare, and I am regretting having this idea, because a shower tray is the easiest thing. You're talking about 10 minutes to put a shower tray down. All you need to worry about is that the shower tray is put in properly so the water flows to the plug hole, which is amazing to me how many people mess that up. I do occasionally get called pessimistic because I tend to always think the worst of people, but I think it is because I've got enough life experience of being let down that you do sort of start to go into situations expecting the worst of people, because you have a catalogue of examples of exactly the same situations where things have gone wrong. And it is actually a good thing being somebody who worries a lot, because it does allow you to kind of future-proof things. It can actually save you time in the long run, because the whole building world is just a workflow. You need this done before this thing, and then that thing follows from that. And if there's any delays, well, then that's going to have a knock-on effect. And to be honest with you, that is why I like working on my own, is because therefore, if I mess up, I know that I have, and I actually can tell myself that I've messed up, because if you employ people, sometimes they will do something extremely wrong and you will never hear about it until it is too late. Now, if you've got good employees, then you're not going to have that problem. But as I always say, most people are honest, hardworking people, but then there is about 10% of them who are complete and utter CUNTs. I also need to thank a person who commented the other day saying, I hope you're going to put a chimney on before Christmas so Santa can visit the tiny house. And you may have been joking, but that comment made me realise one thing, and that is I have not installed a chimney, and I'm kind of panicking because I think I probably should have already installed the chimney before I did all of the epdm, because initially I thought I'd do a side exit and then run the chimney up the wall, and that would work perfectly. The only issue is I don't want that. I want it to exit through the roof. I'm not sure if I can just cut a hole through the epdm, the plywood, the insulation, because my worry is that chimney will get extremely hot and then it's within the roof, so therefore that could create some melting. So I'm guessing I need to add some sort of heat shielding. If you know any good materials or anything on that, please let me know in the comments, because you lot at the moment are saving my life, because my brain plus all of your brains is now a super brain with loads of people giving suggestions, ideas, areas where I've gone wrong. I seriously really do appreciate it. And all the support on the recent videos, all the likes, all the new subscribers, and the support on Substack. I really am enjoying writing those newsletters. And this week's newsletter includes the property developer's secret weapon. And it's basically, if you're just a DIY person or you're renovating your house and you want to check if your builders are completely mugging you off and way overcharging you in certain areas, that section is going to really help you. And then I've also shared a quick way to find houses that are in need of modernisation where you can add value to them. So thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.